Walking on the railroad, I set my booty on the track. I sold this kid with the knapsack, so I snatched my booty back. I said, look at here, partner, you know you can't be me. I'll be the one that ain't too now, and you know it's true. Now move on, I got the fellas jealous cause I flows like none. I got the whole 9, need not back a gun. No need for greed, see it takes then I fades to a young. Sprung on the air that I breathe. You can't conceive how I breathe and I weaves. Here over there may appear some fearful to smear. We're gonna have in abundance. Alright, say alright, say alright, did you know that?
By now, regardless of which generation one falls under, none of us have been exempt from the perils of social engineering and culture creation. We can easily observe the steady growth and intensification in depravity, sexualization, and drug influence. Let's look at their use of celebrity or social demoralization. Boomers had names like Elvis, Generation X had Madonna, Millennials have Miley Cyrus, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, and well, the list goes on. See, by keeping a group in the flesh, or sexual base vibrations, they will operate with carnal needs. They will focus on pleasure, instant gratification, and animal instincts. This is why we see a steady increase in the sexual nature of media generation to generation, and to slowly normalize pedophilia and bestiality as well. Because this growth must appear natural and organic, so we are not able to notice the designed plots and manipulation. As Bertrand Russell stated, indoctrination must begin before 10 years old. So we observe the elite attacking early and designing multi-decade programs through celebritism for generations to grow with, follow, and transform as the celebrity transforms, all by design, with the root intentions of creating the ultimate double-minded, lawless, and debased culture possible. For example, they create young, lovable, innocent characters for children to idolize and revere. Then over time, they tweak the celebrity character in the direction of debasement. As the celebrity ages, they become more sexualized, as does the idolizing child grows older and in most cases begins to exhibit the same sexual behaviors, fully shaping the character and behavior of children as they grow into adulthood to fit and accept their twisted and debased form of culture. See, they understand the human nature of mimicry, so they exploit this nature to no end. Cross-ethnicity, class, cross-generational and geographical location, shaping the global mind. With the addition of drugs in these celebrities, they increase the culture's destabilization, dependence, and predictability. Now the youth will grow into more sexualized identities and begin to practice drug use or accept the use of drugs as normal since their favorite singer, actor, or artist did it. Now, all individuals do not fall into this psychological trap. We must be aware of this, though they tend to be the small minority, the insignificant in terms of rerouting the down spiral of the majority hive mind. From pot and LSD to heroin and cocaine to now all of the above, plus pills and hypnotic potions. Today we see that the hive mind is hitting a wall. Okay, so we can see the dynamics. The system has increased its level of Satanism generation to generation. More kink, more drugs, more violence, and identity confusion, sure. But I guess now the question would be, where do they get all these ideas and techniques from? How do they know so much about how we function, what makes us tick, and how to navigate these things down the path of their preconceived destruction of God's creation? It must have started somewhere. Well, though these ideas go all the way back to the garden and the tree of knowledge, we also see remnants in the Tower of Babel and efforts of Nimrod, in Plato, Nero, Machiavelli, Blavatsky, Bailey, and numerous others. These ideas are old, but where were they put together in a modern format? When was the American blueprint to these ideas organized? Where? And by whom? The American formation of a cornerstone mind control program started with the concept of cybernetics in 1941 at one specific group of private meetings in New York, the Macy conferences. So what's the story with the Macy Foundation? We could begin with its fortune in oil and the shipping industry, then its Standard Oil buyout of the Rockefeller family. The Macy Foundation became a Rockefeller-financed Office of Strategic Services and CIA Mind Control Research Fund front organization. With the financing of this foundation, the birth of Cybernetics and the future of all Project MKUltra programs became a reality. By gathering the most prolific and influential minds of hard sciences, or physical sciences, and soft sciences, or social sciences, the monostate culture evolution through biotech and social engineering was now appearing not only possible, but guaranteed in less time needed than expected. The Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation would be carried financially through the CIA to produce development, reproductive biology, family planning, or eugenics. This is the think tank that programs like Planned Parenthood and No Child Left Behind came from. The Macy Foundation also focused on grant making for medical research institutes and professional education, further building the social engineering and biological warfare spheres which comprise the elite matrix. To this very day, the Macy Foundation continues to thrive within the medical and technical development of society. The Macy conferences of the early 40s to the mid-50s formulated methods and models that have been implemented into all aspects of society: academia, military, medical, media and entertainment, politics, and scientific research and development of every ilk. From Cybernetics came the blueprint for transhumanism, the internet, mass psychology and mind control, predictive programming and media, false flag operations, color revolutions. The Macy conferences were a post-World War II mind control project, the coming together of physical and social sciences through the development of cybernetics, the beginning of the internet, and implications for the future of new systems of societal manipulation towards a controlled monostate. Though the foundation was CIA and Rockefeller funded, it is important to know it is solely a branch of the Tavistock Institute and SRI, the soft and hard scientific backbone of social engineering. Through research, we figured out that many MKUltra programs came directly from the studies done at the Macy conferences. And at the helm of MKUltra programming in America, we find the extensive work of British intelligence agent and scientist Gregory Bateson, one of the most influential members of the Macy conferences. The only other names that can come close to matching his influence is possibly Kurt Lewin and Bateson's mentor, Aldous Huxley. Bateson contributed much to the success of MKUltra by his drug and patients experimentation at the Menlo Park Veterans Hospital, where another key figure in the project and promotion of LSD through his acid testing gang, the Merry Pranksters, Ken Kesey, was a test subject and volunteer for the MKUltra projects. He is also the author of the covert MKUltra novel, One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Though many universities were utilized in the development of MKUltra and cybernetics, the core schools were UC Berkeley, Stanford, and Harvard. The University of Santa Cruz was also another key institute. In fact, Gary Bateson was a professor there. Along with the director of research at Menlo Park, he also founded the Mind Control and Behavior Modification Lab in Palo Alto called the Mental Research Institute, or MRI. Here he ran clandestine MKUltra experiments with LSD, psilocybin, mescaline, and DMT. He gained funding through the CIA under the guise of schizophrenia studies in the family and parent-child dynamic research. These exact studies, in congruence with those of the Frankfurt School, were used to pinpoint specific features of dysfunction in the family and behavior, which would be promoted through drugs and media to produce similar effects within the society. This is why today we see drugs and alcohol or mood-enhancing substances so accepted, advertised, and second nature within our media sources. To go further, Bateson is also the root source of NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, another conditioning method of MKUltra, started by Bandler and Grinder, who were both students of Bateson. MLP can be viewed as the stepchild of the MKUltra human cybernetics programs, which come directly from the experiments held by Gregory Bateson. With the guidance of Aldous Huxley, funding and clearance of the CIA director Alan Dulles, it was made possible to create the drugged-up, technocratic smartphone monoculture we have today. Let's do a quick summary. After World War II came the merging of technology and human behavior, or cybernetics, through the Macy conferences of New York. With the help of IBM, Henrik Hilmer's MKUltra projects of Germany, Project Paperclip, which brought those programs to US soil, and the creation of the television, along with the OSS broadcasting stations like NBC, ABC, and CBS. From this point forward, say in the late 50s, the elite had fully developed their arsenal to produce a true monostate. Though they weren't finished, they needed a connective form of technology to foment a type of web that could simultaneously monitor, educate, distract, and mold the society. Through the research and development of groups like SRI, who created the internet and actually designed Walt Disney's Disneyland, NASA, and the RAND Corporation, the personal computer was created and promoted through a cybernetic, developed, and drug-influenced counterculture, which was formed by drugs, of course, celebritism, and music, along with social propaganda to solidify an ideology and generation of people. A parallel example of this is our modern rave culture or music festivals. They come directly out of the same programs that were used to create festivals like Woodstock, for instance. So basically, yes, the computer, Silicon Valley, and the internet came directly out of the hippie movement, along with the military, LSD, rebellion, and hatred for the status quo. In other words, the personal computer and Silicon Valley in general was kind of a rebellious act created by the counterculture. If they only knew those behind the status quo were also behind the development of the counterculture, the internet, and the computer technology in general. Just a big cultural experiment in mind control which sparked a world-changing industry, all from cybernetics, and originating in the Macy conferences. Also were the WHO conferences, or World Health Organization, along with the Ratio Club. Both were cybernetic organizations that held similar conferences as the Macy's. So I wonder why we don't learn about these conferences in school history, or cybernetics in our science courses, or Gregory Bateson in social studies. We might read Aldous Huxley's Brave New World or Kesey's One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, yet never once do our teachers mention MKUltra or the role that these authors played in the programs. We never hear about Tavistock or names like Harold Amundsen, the U.S. psychiatrist who in 1953 proposed to the CIA a study investigating the possible military application of LSD, which pretty much kicked the whole project off from the very beginning. Funded and structured through the Macy Foundation. See, these are pieces of history that we mustn't ever know. Otherwise, we would wake up, stop buying their garbage, and playing their stupid games and programs, participating in their events and festivals. Instead, use their technology for finding truth, for deprogramming and figuring out what this wicked place is really about and has been since the very beginning.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.